Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today for our midweek meta deck we are playing this LED Dredge deck that was piloted by MahfuzVanGogh, Dredge Specialist, to win a legacy challenge. So it's kind of brave playing a deck like Dredge given the amount of graveyard hate that people are packing at the moment, so it's quite impressive this managed to take down the tournament. Let's get into what this deck is all about. So we want to put as many cards from our library into our graveyard as possible. And we're doing that using the Dredge mechanic. So the Dredge mechanic replaces our draw step. If this is in our graveyard, we then put that many cards from the top of our library into our graveyard. So Dredge 6 cards go into bin, we get Grave-Troll in hand. So we need a way of putting creatures in the graveyard. So we've got Otherworldly Gaze, we've got Faithless Looting, we've got Careful Study, we've got Lion's Eye Diamond, which can obviously crack to pitch our hand into the graveyard, and then we can just flash back a Faithless Looting. That's pretty cool. We've got Cabal Therapy, which can target ourselves, and we have Breakthrough, which can draw many cards. Once this whole sort of train starts rolling, we've got a bunch of stuff that we want to put into the graveyard. So Narcomoebas, they'll jump out and give us food for our Cabal Therapies and our Dread Returns, which will also bring back our Poxwalkers, which are also things we want in the graveyard. We have an Angus, we can get haste, so we can go wide with a bunch of zombies from Bridge from Below and attack really quickly. We have an Ox of Agonas, which can just be more draw effects. This is kind of like an additional Faithless Looting when we're doing Lion's Eye Diamond lines. We have Satoru. Now this might seem like a weird one, but what happens is we reanimate this, and then we draw a card when this enters. So this will then dredge us some more stuff, which means if we dredge a Narcomoeba, we then draw another card, which means we dredge again. So this can basically just set up a loop to dredge your entire deck, giving you the ability to Thassa's Oracle win using the Dread Return. We also have 4 Cephalid Coliseums in our land, so even our lands are helping us draw and discard a bunch of cards. That is pretty much the deck. I've played decks like this before on the channel, but it's been a long time, so I'm excited that this managed to win a tournament, and we can put it back on the channel for you lovely people. In the sideboard, we have 4 Into the Flood Maw. This is just our generic, we need to bounce a scary permanent, whether it's Grafdigger's Cage or Leyline in the Void, just get it out of here. And we don't really care about our opponent having a free fish, that's not really relevant. We've got Leyline in the Void because there is a turn 1 graveyard deck in neutral spells that will beat us, so we need to make sure that we can stop them from going underneath us. We've got some Unmask when we need to hit our opponent's hand a little bit more. Then we have some Shenanigans to blow up things like Grafdigger's Cage because we can do our whole milling thing and then just dredge this up and blow up cages and stuff. So, that's the deck. Excited to give this a whirl again. I used to play quite a bit of Dredge back in the day. I think the first Legacy GP I went to, I played Dredge. That was obviously quite some time ago. So let's see if we can dust off the cobwebs and smash some people with some classic Dredge action. Have you got magic cards you don't want, taking up space in your home, or do you just need some extra spending money? Well, my lovely sponsors, 3for1 Trading, are buying all collections, big and small. They are one of Europe's biggest traders and have a transparent process to sell them cards and make sure you're getting a good deal. Click the link in the description of this video to get an offer on your cards today. We're on the play, which is exactly where we want to be. Our opening hand is fine here. I'll keep this. So I think we begin with the Faithless Looting here. I think we are incentivized to get a Volcanic Island so we can start doing stuff with our Cephalid Coliseum. If our opponent has counter magic, they might point it at this because it's an enabler for a bunch of like decks that do unfair things. So let's get rid of Grave-Troll and Golgari Thug. Then next turn we can flashback this. Sorry, we can play this Faithless Looting from hand, and then we can dredge 10 and really get things going. And mountains. This could be Painter. We'll leave our graveyard popped out because it's a really important zone. We'll dredge the Thug for turn. The Troll for turn. Do I need to play out the Cephalid Coliseum? How many? We have enough dredges that what we do here doesn't really matter that much. So I think we will go and get an Underground Sea and fire in a Cabal Therapy this turn instead. We're obviously going to do the Faithless Looting as well. But I think we just want to get this Cabal Therapy into our opponent. Just have a rough idea what our opponent's up to. What do we want here? Red Elemental Blast, maybe? If they're playing, or Pyroblast. If they're playing Painter, that's one of the only things they can have here that interacts with us. They did have a Pyroblast, and they are on Painter. Okay, so now we can fire in with this. They also have a Red Elemental Blast, so we would have hit either way, and we didn't really change anything because they still have access to one of those effects. Let's get this Troll out. Let's get this other Troll out. We finally hit a Narcomoeba, which is good. And we're going to discard 2 cards. We'll get rid of a Poxwalkers and a Grave-Troll. So Narcomoeba comes in. We will use Narcomoeba's ability. We will Cabal Therapy targeting ourselves, I believe, here. How many Cabal Therapies do we have? Alright, we'll target them first. We'll just shred their hand. We want to do this so that we can go and get some Poxwalkers back. Poxwalkers just loops with the Cabal Therapies. So we name Goblin Engineers. They can't cheer up any sort of graveyard hate. So they got a Braid, Red Blast, Fury, and some other bits and pieces. So we can put these Grave-Trolls into... No, we need to Cabal Therapy away this Fury as well. That way we don't get killed. We don't lose our bridge from below. We only have one bridge from below, that's still fine. Where is just Fury on here? Okay, I don't think we need to do anything else this turn. We can just go to our next turn and then play the Cephalid Coliseum and probably win that turn. We have enough dredges in the graveyard here. We don't need to do anything else here. Right, there is the Ancient Tomb. We'll dredge Troll. Bunch of stuff. Play Cephalid Coliseum. So we could just flash back this Faithless Looting. And then we have this for later as well. If this game goes another turn, I don't think it is going to, but I think that's still the correct play to do, just to make sure we're using our resources more efficiently. Alright, we'll take an Imp. We'll take another Imp. We'll discard 2 Trolls here. So we can Cabal Therapy here, but we probably want to attack our opponent first. So let's Cabal Therapy our opponent. There should be one in there somewhere. I'm sure I saw another one. We'll sack the Poxwalkers. We'll name a Braid here. Or it's kind of awkward which one we name here, actually. Because we want to try and get the Satoru in. But whatever one we take, it's not really going to matter. If we take the Red Blast, they at least have to tap the Ancient Tomb. So I think we take the Red Blast. Okay, so we can Dread Return this Satoru and draw some cards. I think that's fine. Let's get the Satoru back. Let's go to Poxwalker, and a zombie token. So we're going to have lethal damage. We probably could have done this in a way where we got the anger into the graveyard and this turn, actually. So we've got 15 cards left in our library. This is not the cleanest. We could have done this a little bit cleaner. Okay, so we didn't actually get anything else to keep going here. We could Cabal Therapy. That seems fine here. We'll name the Braid. Poxwalkers comes back. And then we dredge the Grave-Troll here. No, do we dredge the Imp? Right, our opponent's just scooping up because we are just popping off here. But the sideboard games is where things always get difficult for dredge. So this feels like a matchup where Shenanigans is going to be good. Do we want to bounce a bunch of stuff? Possibly. They will have Red Blast because they're going to be good at interacting with things like our breakthroughs and our careful studies and whatnot. So I'd be very surprised they didn't have those. Their graveyard hate is probably going to be a combination of Soul Guide Lantern, possibly Grafdigger's Cage. I don't think they have Leylines, but I think we need to respect them just in case. So there's up to 6 cards we're bringing in here, which means we have to try and work out what we're boarding, which is always a tricky part with Dredge. So quite often the play is to get rid of your breakthroughs and your LEDs, because these are like your all-in things, and then we can just do it slower. But I don't really want to get rid of LEDs. But breakthrough kind of takes our hand, so does LED. I don't know. Like, I don't really like this split here, because then we are... I guess we don't have to worry about resolving spells here, actually. So the good thing about these is that they're like additional enablers, but we don't need as many enablers because our opponent isn't going to be countering our spells. I guess they can counter our blue spells, which is another reason Breakthrough should go. It's a case of, would I rather have stuff like Otherworldly Gaze? If they're Pyroblasting this, that's not really a big deal. Are we just going slower and having the LED? Maybe we board out the LED and try it this way. Because this way, if we get wiped by some sort of like Soul Guide Lantern effect, it's not so bad because we're not going to be all in on it. We should have the resources to rebuild. We obviously can't keep this hand. Well, that's not strictly speaking true. We could just draw for turn and discard a card. But I don't really like that to play. This is fine. We can keep this. And the Narcomoeba probably goes back. I don't really want all these dredges in hand. Leyline of the Void. Sure. So they did have Leylines. We bought Into the Flood Maw because we thought they might have these. This could be one of those classic leagues where we smash everyone game 1 and get annihilated in the sideboard games. Okay, so there's an uphill struggle here. People were certainly prepared to do graveyard stuff. It's better to Otherworldly Gaze. Otherworldly Gaze sees more cards than a Faithless Looting, so I think we're just going to wait on this, and then we'll Otherworldly Gaze on our opponent's turn. Although, maybe we're supposed to Otherworldly Gaze while our opponent's red source is tapped down. Yeah, I think that was a misstep from us. We'll go and get a Volcanic Island, and we're going to try an Otherworldly Gaze here. This is worth Pyroblasting if our opponent has one. They did not have one. So we just have to put everything into the graveyard that doesn't get rid of these graveyard hate pieces. Our opponent's hand is going to be fine because they've got the Saga stuff going on. Okay. Get rid of the weakest dredges, I suppose. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've lost this game. We need to find 2 answers here. Now, we do have 6 that we've boarded in. Magus of the Moon. That's not super good for us either, is it? Because we are going to struggle to Into the Flood Maw or anything if we do find it. This is just a mountain. So now they just have the Saga. I think we can just skip this one up. Okay, so we correctly identified their Graveyard Hate. Possibly we want an additional thing here in the Echoing Truth. Maybe we'll trim a Cabal Therapy for that. Like, all the draw discard stuff does help us find the answers, so it's worth having those in still. Obviously not Breakthrough, because that's a different kettle of fish, really. No land, we have to mulligan this one. Okay, we have an answer for Leyline. Keep this, and we'll bin off the Narcomoeba. We have to go a little bit slower than I would like, because we're not going to be able to put anything in the graveyard. If, let's say, our opponent doesn't have a turn 1 Leyline, then we can Careful Study. But I'm expecting our opponent to have a Leyline. Oh, they didn't have a Leyline. Alright, let's Careful Study before there's any sort of Pyroblast action going on. Okay, we're going to get rid of these 2. If our opponent's got another piece of Graveyard Hate, I want to keep a Dredger around that we can maybe bin off with a different card later on. Because this should find us another Dredger the way our deck's constructed. This will find them Graveyard Hate in a few turns. I imagine they had something that is Graveyard Hate. There we go. Soulguide Lantern. They're going to get rid of this Grave-Troll, sure. If we put them both in, we lose them both. So it's kind of a weird situation. We'd like to find a Shenanigans, obviously. That's not a Shenanigans. A little bit tricky here. Okay, I think we have to slow right down. We could Cabal Therapy our opponent to try and slow them down. But what we can do next turn is we can bounce the Soulguide Lantern at end step, untap Cabal Therapy away the Soulguide Lantern. The problem is, if they get someone like a Goblin Engineer, they can just bring it back. So it's going to be an uphill struggle here. As is often the case with Dredge. But if you're against tempo decks, it's fine. They tend not to have like the big haymaker answers like Leylines and Soulguide Lantern type stuff. Like, being a Soulguide Lantern is very doable with Dredge, to be fair. But the fact is our opponent's going to be able to recur this a bunch. Alright, that is a Painted Servant. They kill us next turn. Yikes. That doesn't seem like a good spot for us. Do we have to play defensively and bounce this? I think we do. Now, they don't have red mana. They could have a Spirit Guide, though. Right, so I think we have to Cabal Therapy our opponent here. Okay, so what else do they have over there? Ensnaring Bridge, yeah, that's kind of annoying. Goblin Engineer's pretty annoying too. Yikes. Things are looking difficult for us. They're probably going to get another piece of Graveyard Hate off this Urza Saga. They could go and get the Grindstone with the intention of using their Great Furnace and Goblin Engineer to get back their Painter and just grind us out that way. We'll see how our opponent wants to approach this. Just another Soulguide Lantern. Getting rid of our Cabal Therapy, but they're taking themselves further away from winning, so we get more time, and if we draw something like a Shenanigans, we can really start digging into our opponent's bits and pieces. So Searing Spirit Guy's gone, Mountain's gone, Goblin Engineer is here. So this fetches them the Grindstone. Next turn they get the Grindstone. I don't know how we're supposed to beat this lock of these things, right? We need to have a really good draw this turn. So we need like I guess if we Careful Study and then bounce something. So we can Into the Flood Maw. We can bounce this. It doesn't do anything. We bounce this. It doesn't do anything. I think we're just dead here. Alright. A classic Dredge game there where we absolutely smashed from game 1 and got annihilated post-board. Alright, let's go to round 2. Okay, our opener for our second round looks alright. We can Careful Study some stuff into the bin. We could try an Otherworldly Gaze first so that our Careful Study ends up getting us more action. Kind of like that, actually. Let's play the Cephalid Coliseum out and let's try and... If we can use this to dredge like 12 cards instead of just putting cards in the graveyard, that probably ends up better for us. It could end up that we end up going slower, but then we can catch up with the Careful Study, so I think either way we slice it ends up better for us. Oh wow, we're getting shown tailed on turn 2, sorry. Could be a sneak attack, just to stock up. I'm going to cast another Otherworldly Gaze. Okay, we've missed on everything we wanted. I think I do want this Underground Sea so we can Cabal Therapy our opponents. So I think we're going to Cabal Therapy our opponent and then possibly Careful Study. Alright, let's go for Cabal Therapy. His name's Show and Tell. We hit. So we hit the Show and Tell. They got a bunch of scary stuff here. Are they going to Force of Will our Careful Study? Almost certainly. But we're still putting cards in the graveyard, which is going to allow our Cephalid Coliseum to work. Oh, well, they just let us do that. That's wild. Okay. Let's get rid of Grave-Troll and Thug, because we can put the Poxwalkers into the graveyard using the Cephalid Coliseum next turn anyway. Alright, we'll pop our graveyard up here, as per usual. Wow, I can't believe they didn't Force of Will that. Just enables everything we're doing. Are they just going to combo us out now, though? Did they draw what they needed? They could sneak attack this turn. That is a sneak attack. We don't die to an Atraxa here. And we're a deck that's actually pretty good at beating through the cards our opponent can get off the Atraxa. So they probably kill us next turn with Omniscience. However, we get a turn. And we're going to dredge a bunch. So they get to keep City of Traitors, Omniscience, and Show and Tell. So these are the cards they haven't had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. In our upkeep, we're going to activate our Cephalid Coliseum, because that means we're guaranteed to have dredges in our graveyard. Alright, yep, you can hit us for 7, that's fine. That's not really what this game is about. So in our upkeep, we can activate this. So we'll dredge this one. We'll dredge this one. And we had to draw a regular card. So this is why we did it here, so that way we can definitely get off and put these dredges in the graveyard for our draw step. Do I need this Dread Return in the graveyard? Maybe we do need the Dread Return and the Poxwalkers. Then we go to draw step. We're not going to have haste because we don't have a mountain. Right, so we found a Narcomoeba. How many Cabal Therapies do we have here? 1, 2. Okay, so we got some action here. Let's Cabal Therapy our opponents here. Would you like to Force of Will this? They pitched an Omniscience to Force of Will this. Okay, well, I'm going to Cabal Therapy you again. I think we name the Brainstorm here. We don't have another... okay, we name the Brainstorm. Because they can put in an Omniscience, it doesn't do anything on its own. So we know what they've got in hand. Is those 3 cards. So now we can Dread Return, targeting the Satoru, which will allow us to dredge again. And maybe we can get through our library this turn and kill them. Narcomoeba is welcome. We get to dredge again. We only have a Thug though. We have a Cabal Therapy, so that's fine. We can fire this off, sacrificing the Poxwalkers, which will come back and then trigger Satoru again. We have 2 Poxwalkers in fact, so we get to trigger Satoru twice. We need to make sure we don't deck ourselves. Dredge this Imp. We'll name Omniscience. Oh, would you believe it? We hit. And then we can Dread Return something else right now. How many dredges do we have? If we Dread Return, we don't get to Dread Return our Thassa's Oracle. So, do we think that we've done enough here? We still get a land to play. Sure, I think we've done enough there. We definitely kill our opponent next turn. So, let's discard one of these trolls. We don't die to Emrakul either, because we can block it with Narcomoeba and sack a bunch of other stuff. Right, so let's dredge our Grave-Troll. Get Narcomoeba out. Satoru triggers. I will. How many Narcomoebas do we have left in our deck? If we dredge this Stinkweed Imp, we've got 1, 2 Narcomoebas, 3 Narcomoebas. So still a Narcomoeba on deck. So if we dredge this, a Narcomoeba comes up and then we lose the game to Satoru's own ability here. So that's not really what I want. We drew the Narcomoeba. So we probably attack our opponent. Is there a way that we can do this? And so we can draw 3 cards and discard 3 cards. If the last card in our library is the Thassa's Oracle, we lose. No, we don't. We just cast it on the following turn, but our opponent gets another turn. Okay, let's attack, I guess. We're not going to get haste anyway with other creatures. We might as well just get a big chunk of damage in. We play this, and then we can draw 3 cards and discard 3 cards. The last card... No, the Thassa's Oracle is already in the graveyard, isn't it? Okay, cool, cool, cool. So we just get rid of whatever. And then we dread return, targeting Thassa's Oracle. And we sacrifice a Satoru and 2 Poxwalkers. So that way we don't draw any additional cards and accidentally deck ourselves. Alright, Poxwalkers come back. We get a bunch of zombies. Our dread return happens. We Thassa's Oracle. And we win the game. Cool, we managed to get there. Let's go to the sideboard. So, what are Show and Tell decks packing as their graveyard hate? I believe it's Grafdigger's Cage and sometimes Fairy Macabres. So, I think we want the Shenanigans, because that blows up Grafdigger's Cage and we get multiple goes at it. I don't think we can afford the Unmask to try and mess with our opponent's combo. We just have to be quicker than them and try and get them with Cabal Therapies. I guess the breakthroughs. The breakthroughs allow us to go quick. But they do have to resolve. Our opponent probably boards in Pyroblast as well. And take out the breakthroughs here for a couple of Shenanigans. And then rely on a combination of Cabal Therapy and Shenanigans. Now, Shenanigans is a card that we can find. We can still do our putting loads of cards in the graveyard thing. We just don't get to play stuff from our graveyard or have stuff jump out the graveyard. But as soon as we find the Shenanigans, we can just dredge that back up. Or we can just start with the Shenanigans in hand. Lovely. We'll keep this. So we go turn 1, Faithless Looting, bin off Stinkweed Imp and friends. Tameo. Sure. Even Show and Tell decks are running Tameo. Wowzers. Okay, let's play this Lion's Eye Diamond. Would you like to cancel? Oh, they're just F6 here, are they? They are indeed. So let's crack this for triple red. No, hold on. We need to hold priority, put Faithless Looting on the stack, and then we crack this for triple red. And we dredge Stinkweed Imp. We dredge the Grave-Troll. We discard these 2 cards. Put the Narcomoebas in. Flashback Faithless Looting using the mana we've got floating. Get these Poxwalkers in. Dredge the Grave-Troll. Dredge the Stinkweed Imp. Discard them again. Alright, let's Cabal Therapy our opponent. Sacrificing the Poxwalkers. Poxwalkers comes back. Which is lovely. Let's name Show and Tell. That's the quickest route they have to killing us. They have a sneak attack, a Show and Tell. So we take the Show and Tell. How many more Cabal Therapies do we have here? Is there anything else I'd like to dread return? We could Cabal Therapy, take their Atraxa. Dread return is only our graveyard, right? Yes, it is only our graveyard. There was a moment there. Okay, let's get rid of their Brainstorm here. And then we can get rid of their sneak attack as well. Like, we're just gaining power every time we do this as well. And do we want to dread return here? If we dread return, we can get back a troll. How big will the troll be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I'll get a big guy back. We'll get rid of 2 Poxwalkers and 1 Narcomoeba. This also gets us a bunch of more bridge triggers. This feels a bit like the Dredge of old, where you used to like flank and zealot people out. Those were certainly the days. And we go to attacks. Attack little creatures. This is lethal, isn't it? Yes. So they block this. They take 12, 13, 14. We lose our bridges, but I don't think we need them, looking at our board. I don't think there's any one card our opponent can draw to get them out of the spot. Alright, that is what this deck can do. And now you see the attraction, right? Game, like the first round, we had like a not super speedy dredge, but we got there. And then we got bodied by Graveyard Hate. This time we just absolutely sailed through. Alright, on to round 3. We now come across a little bit of awkwardness in our opener, where we can't cast any of our spells. So we could just draw for turn and discard a Golgari Grave-Troll. If our opponent has a Thoughtseize, that plan kind of falls apart. I think we just do better than this. Lion's Eye Diamond, Otherworldly Gaze. These are useful Magic the Gathering cards. I'll keep this and get rid of the Narcomoeba. We don't want this in our hand. We can shuffle it in with our fetch lands at some point. Caracas. Ether Vial. Alright, Death and Taxes. So we knew they were a Yorion deck. We didn't know if they were going to be like Bant or whatever. Or the 5-colour Yorion Beans. But now we know. So I think it's correct here to Otherworldly Gaze straight away. Okay. Put this into our graveyard. Put this into our graveyard. I guess we're not really drawing anything, are we? we're probably just going to start dredging immediately, so this might as well go in as well. I don't really want to use the Lion's Eye Diamond to flash back another Otherworldly Gaze. I'm just trying to work out if we play this out, it can play into Prismatic Ending, but leave in our hand, it can play into the potential for a Thoughtseize that our opponent could be running if they're running black and white taxes. I think we're better off playing this out. Like, worst case scenario, we can always just ditch our hand and at least have something going on. Like, a lot of the things that destroy Lion's Eye Diamond are going to be things like Lorana the Third Path and Witch Enchanter, so stuff that costs a bit more. So they're less likely to blow it up right now, but it is possible. They should wasteland us here. They are doing that. Again, if we have a Faithless Looting, we don't want to burn this on our Otherworldly Gaze. So let's get back this Lion's Eye Diamond. Ox of Agonas. So how many cards do you have to get rid of this? Exile 8 other cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll be pitching a bunch of cards. It probably ends up okay for us. We pitch this for red mana. Let's flash let's escape it. So get rid of lands first. And LEDs. And then the weakest dredges. I guess we're not using this Otherworldly Gaze. We're not going to have any mana for the rest of the game. And then the weakest dredger we have in there is the Imp. So I guess we get rid of 2 Imps. Kind of hard if I should be doing the 2 Imps or should I just be getting Satoru. Like, Satoru can just give us the win straight away. 2 Imps is a lot to get rid of. Let's make sure I've clicked on all the right ones first. I don't really want to get rid of Poxwalkers, Bridge, Cabal Therapy. So I guess it just is the Imp, isn't it? The second Imp. We can win this game without Satoru. Alright, we'll get rid of Satoru. Alright, so we get both Poxwalkers back. That's a decent chunk of power. This comes in. We get to dredge. So we'll dredge the Troll. Imp. Thug. Yeah, so we did actually need to keep all those things in. So, what are we doing right now? I guess we Cabal Therapy our opponent here. Pitching in Poxwalkers. Just get this little show on the road here. I think Swords to Plowshares is the first name. Because we have another Cabal Therapy we're going to be firing off as well. Or we can name... I guess they had Solitude. They probably would have used it before we got these bridge tokens anyway. Okay, what Graveyard Hate is a Death and Taxes deck playing? I think it's a bit of a mix of like Containment Priest, Fairy Macabre, Graphic Cage, a whole bunch of stuff. So I think we're probably looking at bounce spells rather than Shenanigans. Do we want to keep the breakthrough so we can just go super duper hard? Maybe that is the better play here, just to be able to send it, because our opponent's graveyard stuff is a little bit slower. So maybe it's like the Otherworldly Gazes that go instead of the breakthroughs and the LEDs. That gets us into the Flood Maw. Do we need anger? I think we probably do need anger. Maybe we can just trim our weakest dredger to get in this Echoing Truth. Like, a lot of decks are playing Leyline now because of Oops All Spells. It is the world that we live in. Although Oops All Spells in the last week, hardly anyone's been playing it. I think it was at 0.5% of the meta. It's just dropped off because it's horrible into Blue-Black Reanimator. And people don't really like playing Oops All Spells either. We have an answer for something spooky. We have an enabler. This all seems perfectly fine to me. The combination of Into the Flood Maw and Cabal Therapy can do work as well. Although our colour requirements are a little bit sketchy for trying to get this Cabal Therapy going. We can obviously put it in the bin and go from there. Okay, it doesn't look like they began the game with a Leyline. Good news. Now, Into the Flood Maw is not necessarily the best answer to a Containment Priest. But the thing is, our opponent has to spend 2 mana on it, right? And once they've spent 2 mana on it, we can bounce it to their hand. And the actions they need to take need to be early on, so they're not going to be able to redeploy it straight away. So then we can like clip it with a therapy or whatever. Just a shadowy backstreet over there. I think we are Faithless Looting here. I wouldn't mind hitting an additional land along the way. Okay, we didn't really hit anything of note there. Grave-Troll obviously goes. I think we get rid of the Imp. Pad our graveyard out with some dredges. Prismatic Vista. Overlord of the Baelmerk. We get to see what they find off of this. It's not very exciting. Recruiter of the Guard. Sure. Alright, let's get to dredging. 2 Narcomoebas. Don't mind if I do. Unfortunately, we don't really have a way of doing anything else here. We can't flash this back, so I've got enough mana. We can bounce some stuff. That's about all we have available to us right now. So we did have another line in this game where instead of using that Faithless Looting, we just discarded naturally at end of turn, and then on the next turn we could Faithless Looting and try and hit more dredges that way. But because I actually wanted another land so we could actually cast this Cabal Therapy and then, you know, be able to do Into the Flood Maw plus Cabal Therapy in one turn, I felt like doing the Faithless Looting so we could dig towards the land was a sensible thing to do. Now that might come back to bite us, maybe we're supposed to just go really hard. But we'll see. Recruiter of the Guard. This is almost certainly going to get them a Solitude, I think, here. So they can strip out bridges. Unless they just want to get a Containment Priest because they think we're going quite slowly. Which we are, to be fair. Oh, a Flicker Wisp. So this can flicker their Overlord or their Recruiter. If they flicker the Overlord, then it can start attacking quicker. I don't think I want to bounce anything here. Alright, let's hope our dredges are good to us. We found a Cabal Therapy. That gets us back a Poxwalkers. Do we have any dredges? We just have we have 2 Stinkweed Imps. I guess we are Cabal Therapying our opponent, but we probably want to attack first, since they can't block. Our powerful flying illusion jellyfish. They're not jellyfish by their card type, but they should be. Look at them. Okay, let's Cabal Therapy our opponent. Let's take out the Flicker Wisp we know about. They could Solitude our Poxwalkers, if they have that. That might be what they're thinking about. Surgical Extraction. Got Flicker Wisp out of their hand. We can't do anything else this turn. Okay. They could have Surgical Extracted us at some point. We'll pitch one of these. They can Surgical Extract one of our dredges, but we have 2 different dredges. Playing out this Thalia is kind of annoying. Wrath of the Sky is kind of annoying. There's a whole bunch of things that are annoying. Thalia. So if we want to bounce anything, we need to do it right now. Do I want to bounce this Overlord of the Baelmerk? Just so we don't have to worry about it for a little while. Sure. I have to give them a free fish. Do I care about them having a fish? I don't think so. Okay, the first strike pretty good into our Death Toucher, who's only a 3-1. Right, I'm going to surgically extract anything. He's going to let us dredge this Grave-Troll. Am I waiting for bridges? So we have bridges. We don't really have a way to utilise said bridges. So they can take out the only dredger we have left. We can block the Thalia and our Poxwalkers will turn into a zombie. Obviously it was already a zombie, but we'll get a Bridge from Below token. And then if we could find a spell that we can cast from our graveyard. A Skyclave Apparition. Okay. They can exile our Poxwalkers permanently. That's pretty good. They can bash in for a bunch here. I think we are pretty close to losing this one. We'll keep playing for a little bit longer. Maybe we get some information about the hate our opponent is playing in their deck. Right, they're surgically extracting our Stinkweed Imp here. Well, they were thinking about it. No, they decided against it. Ox of Agonas we can't do anything with. Casting stuff underneath the Dread Return, underneath the Thalia is really awkward. I don't think we're winning this one. I think we're just going to go back to the sideboard for game 3. I would love something like Firestorm, but we're not playing it. That was always a great D&T card, a match for the matchup against D&T back in the day. No, I think we just roll with it again. No dredges. Do I think we can find a dredger with a Faithless Looting? Could be a little sketchy. I think we can do better than this. I think we want to go harder. Okay, this has a dredger. That seems fine. We'll put the Narcomoeba away. We can actually just hardcast the Satoru on turn 2. That's an interesting play. No Leyline to begin with. Happy about that. I'll get rid of some dredges. We've seen surgical, so if we get rid of 2 dredges, they can't surgical us away from having a dredger. Okay, we're probably going to have to Cabal Therapy ourselves at some point to get these Poxwalkers out. Just get this Narcomoeba out. Am I playing out the Satoru now or not? It's just a guy here. I think that's reasonable still. It means that when our next dredge goes, if we hit any Narcomoebas, we can then just get to dredge again. And we don't know if we're going to mill over our only black source when we dredge, so I think we need to just... We at least need to get the black source now. And given our opponent's a Wasteland deck, I think we are just going to play the Satoru. This could just be walking into a source to plowshares over there. Okay, opponent, are you doing anything at our end step? I hope not. If they like plow and then untap and play. Okay, they're just getting rid of our bridges. Okay, we didn't actually need bridges to win this one. They didn't want to get rid of our only dredger. That is curious. So no plow end of turn. That's good. I think they had a Solitude because they could have Solitude and got rid of the bridge and the Satoru at the same time. Our opponent thought a while and then did nothing. Okay, what happened there? Nothing of note. Alright, we're attacking. If they flash in a failure, our creature is bigger. If they flash in a Containment Priest, our creature is bigger. And obviously this one flies. We're just going to get a little bit of damage in. Alright, they didn't flash in anything. Did they keep their hand purely off the surgical? Not playing a 2-drop or a 1-drop is kind of wild. Scrubland. It's going to be a Recruiter, a Skyclave. So we're going to lose the Satoru. Yeah, that is unfortunate. Nothing we can do about it though. Dredge and Imp. Cabal Therapy into our graveyard. Okay, I think we're just passing here. So we could Cabal Therapy ourselves and take these Poxwalkers. I think we need a little bit more. Yeah, we need a little bit more stuff. So we need to be able to get these Poxwalkers in at the same turn that we get them out of our hand, I think. There's no bridges available for us. So we do need to leverage these Poxwalkers. Thalia. Sure, that makes it a little bit trickier. I could bring back the Thug. And then we can put... Then we can sacrifice the Narcomoeba. Put the... Although we don't have the mana to do that right now, so we'd have to wait another turn. If we dredge over a Narcomoeba and a Cabal Therapy, that's pretty good. So I think we just hit the Stinkweed Imp here. Okay, we didn't hit anything we really needed there. A little bit awkward. We are not winning this race. Maybe we get to just do a big dread return on our Golgari Grave-Troll and swing for lethal at some point. That'd be cool. It's going to be hard to do a Thassa's Oracle line. Surprised they're not wastelanding us. Right, we found 2 Narcomoebas and another Cabal Therapy. This is exactly what we wanted. They don't have a Containment Priest, otherwise you flash it in here. Okay, Cabal Therapy, target us. Sacrifice this Narcomoeba. Once it's resolved, we have priority, so they don't get a window to mess with us. And they can mess with us with the triggers on the stack, though. Solitude. Okay. You can exile a Narcomoeba. That's weird. Doesn't seem like a great play to me. I don't really know what else they have in their hand, what the plan is. Oh, Poxwalkers. You have to discard them. Then we can, how many dredges do we have left over here? We have a Stinkweed Imp. I guess we target ourselves, sacrifice the Poxwalkers here. All the Poxwalkers come back. I'm going to name Golgari Grave-Troll. Discard those. That way we've got a selection of different dredges. How many creatures do we have in our graveyard? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So not a lot. We just passed it over. I would have saved the Solitude to kill a Poxwalkers. That would have been my preference if I was playing the Death and Taxes deck. If they can have another Wasteland, they can take us off of Dread Return entirely. They could also Wasteland on our Volcanic Island on the clutch turn where we're relying on an anger that we mill over. Our opponent should be coming in, getting the damages done. Yep, they're leaving their first striker back. That makes a lot of sense. The life gain off the Solitude is potentially pretty big here, since we're going to have to get over the line with damage most likely. I guess if this game goes long enough, we can reanimate the... Okay, we're probably not reanimating anything. This is going to go and get them a Containment Priest. I was going to say we could reanimate the Thassa's Oracle if we get enough turns, but I just don't think we're going to be able to get over the line here. We're just too slow. Oh, an Orcish Bowmasters. What? Why is that the thing you're getting? Do you not have a Containment Priest? Like, yeah, it shoots the Poxwalkers down, but... whatever, right? No Ox of Agonas here either. We attack with these, they kind of just die. It's not very helpful. I imagine they're going to ping us down with the Bowmaster anyway. I think we should have just held it back on blocks, to be honest. Why did they get Bowmaster? What am I missing? I think I can ping out one of our Poxwalkers. Yep, it's pretty good. Not as good as a Containment Priest would have been. Because that just means that we basically can't win the game anymore. So we have 2 blue pips. So, plus a 2 from the Thassa's Oracle, we need 4 cards left in library. So 6 and 6 is 12. So 2 turns does it here. But we need to be able to bring back our guys as well. If they attack with just the Thalia, we can let it through. Otherwise, we might have to start trading some Poxwalkers. We're going to need to make sure we keep enough creatures around. Now, how many... Let's count our Cabal Therapies. We've got 2 Cabal Therapies in the deck. So we still have 2 ways of getting back all of our Poxwalkers, as long as we still have 1 around. Sending in multiple guys. 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think we can afford to trade off a Poxwalker here. Because if they have another Bowmaster, they ping down the other Poxwalkers and we have to sacrifice one of our Narcomoebas. We need the blue pips from the Narcomoebas. Although we're probably going to have to chump block next turn if this turn doesn't go well for us. We could hit the Ox of Agonas. That would be pretty handy here. How many Dread Returns have we used? None, right? Yeah, so we can Dread Return Ox of Agonas, mill ourselves out, Dread Return the Thalia. Not the Thalia, so the Thassa's Oracle. They've got a second Wasteland now. That is absolutely devastating. If they use them both, we lose the game, I think. Because we don't get to cast any more spells. We could naturally draw a card. Not Wastelanding us? Interesting. There is an Anger. So our guys are going to be hasty. But does that actually help us out? Is an interesting question. Where is our Ox? We don't have a way of drawing additional cards this turn. How big is the Golgari Grave-Troll? 8 creature cards. So it'll be 8 still, even if we sack these, because one of these will go, but then 3 will come back. Is having an 8/8 good here? Is it what we need to do to buy ourselves another turn? Probably. Oh, we are sacrificing the Narcomoeba though. So if they attack us with everything, we block the 2 biggest, we take 2, 3, 4, 5. So we die. So we do need to Dread Return something else. Which means we have to naturally draw the Thassa's Oracle to win that way. We do have lethal damage. We can force our opponent to block with a Solitude here. Is there anything underneath the Skyclad Apparition? There is. So if we attack here, they have to block one of these. And then if they block one of them on the crackback, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we block this and this, we take 2. No, sorry, we block this, this, and this. We take 1, 2, 3. I don't think we can attack here, which is obviously annoying. But if we slow this game down enough, we can try and draw into our Thassa's Oracle. Are we dread returning? Are we dredging on our next turn? Uncertain. If we don't hit the Thassa's Oracle, we do just lose. Like, we might be able to beat them down with these trolls and the Poxwalkers. This game's gotten very weird. Alright, opponent. No attacks. Wowzers, trousers. Okay. We're drawing a regular card. I think we have to. Oh, we drew the Oracle. That's so good. That's so good. Okay, they didn't attack last turn. We don't attack this turn. We have a line to victory. I guess we could also, like, dredge the Thug, put the Oracle on top. But surely they fire off the Wasteland at that point. I can't believe they haven't fired off their Wastelands. That to me is very wild. We can probably work out how many lands we have in our graveyard, in our deck. We've got 14 lands. How many in our graveyard? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there are 3 lands left in our deck. So if they do Wasteland us, we can get around that. And how many Scalding Tarns are gone? 3 Scalding Tarns are gone. So we're not going to draw fetch lands that can't hit stuff. It didn't attack last turn. It's even worse this turn. Okay. I'm going to dredge an Imp, I guess. Or maybe we'll dredge a Thug. Oh, we have the Ox of Agonas there. 5 cards left in our graveyard. Let's cast a Thug. Right, next turn we dredge the Imp. And then we just Oracle and win the game. It's a line. I'll take it. Just don't wasteland me, opponent. If they just fire off these wasteland, I guess we just take the Thug though. Do I Cabal Therapy my opponent first here? No, because we can't cast our spell if we do that. Do we think they can remove both of our blue creatures? I don't know. Let's just play the Oracle. We can Cabal Therapy the Thug next turn to put the Oracle on top. They would need to have 2 removal spells. 1 to get rid of Oracle, 1 to get rid of the Narcomoeba. If they've got removal spells, why haven't they been killing our trolls, right? That is the logic there. Especially since their removal spells ignores the regenerate. Not that we had the mana for the regenerate anyway, but... You've used a lot of your clock, opponent. I guess this game's probably going to be over one way or the other before the 3 minutes elapses, but you never know. I don't like the way our opponent played this game, I'm honest. Like, getting the Orcish Bowmasters, surely they had something better. Like, another Solitude would have been good. They could have got a Containment Priest if they had one. And then just not firing off these Wastelands and just allowing us to rattle off spell after spell. Like, we cast at least 4 spells that we shouldn't have cast because our opponent didn't Wasteland us. Alright. Into the Flood Maw. Alright, so we get the win off of the Thassa. I think our opponent could have won that match. Well, at least won that game. I think they gave us... Yeah, that was the game 3 as well, yeah. So they could have won this match if they'd have played differently, I think. If they'd have, you know, punished us with this combo of Wasteland and Thalia. Like, what else were they doing with their mana? Literally nothing. So I think they kind of let us have that one a bit. Alright, on to round 4. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. On the play for round 4, no, this is not the one for me. Let's mulligan. Yeah, I'll keep this on. It's got a lot of land, but I don't actually mind that. I think it's kind of tricky. I think we might have to put back this Cephalid Coliseum. Because we want to have black mana for our Otherworldly Gaze. I think we probably lead off on the Scalding Tarn. Because if we mill over our own... Like, if we Otherworldly Gaze off of the Volcanic Island and our Underground Sea is in those top 3 cards, that becomes really annoying. Also, this means we don't get Wasteland in the first turn cycle. Unless our opponent just plays out Wasteland to keep us honest with this. But then we have that information before we choose whether to crack or not. Right, no Wasteland coming our way. Alright, a Swamp. And a Thoughtseize. Let's go and get our Underground Sea here. Let's cast our Otherworldly Gaze. And then the other 2 cards, we don't necessarily mind if they go to the graveyard or not. I wouldn't mind keeping the Cabal Therapy around. This is obviously going to be the one that hits. Okay, we don't need this or this, but I'll leave this on top. Please take my Stinkweed Imp. They're not going to. They're going to take the Cabal Therapy. It's the correct choice. I'm going to assume that my opponent is playing a blue-black build because of the blue delta. It could just be a mono-black where they're using these to get Revolt and Descend. But I think more likely than not, this deck is 20% of the meta, the blue-black one. And we have seen a blue delta. Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay, our opponent is playing Doomsday. Okay, I think this means we fire in with a Faithless Looting. We could get another Cabal Therapy going here. We did. Okay, excellent. Playing out that Lion's Eye Diamond, I think was a mistake. Because that tells us what they're doing. They could be like Ad Nauseam Tendrils type thing, but I think it's way more like their Doomsday. We hit the Doomsday. Okay, things looking up for us. If they don't play out this Lion's Eye Diamond, then what are we doing with this Cabal Therapy? We're almost certainly not going to hit. We probably just named Brainstorm, right? And then that could have been okay for us, but I much prefer the situation where we get to hit our opponent's combo card. So on our turn, we get to... I don't think we're going to Otherworldly Gaze. I think we're going to use the Cephalid Coliseum. Drink deeply from the well of our graveyard. We couldn't play this out for our upkeep because we needed the red mana for the Faithless Looting. Otherwise, we could have done it in our upkeep and made sure we had a Dredger for our draw step. Alright. Thoughtseize. Sure, we don't have anything here. You can take 2 damage. Pretty sure they knew we had the Coliseum, right? Lotus Petal. These could be the last 2 cards in our hand, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they still have the Ponder, though. That seems like a very good card to dig for what you need. Let's play this out. Let's draw some cards, shall we? Grave-Troll. Grave-Troll. And Stinkweed Imp. And then we'll discard them all again. Get back our beautiful little Narcomoebas. Yes. And yes. So, how many Cabal Therapies and Poxwalkers do we have? Poxwalkers. Just the one Poxwalkers. Cabal Therapy our opponent. We'll name the Ponder because we suspect they still have it. It is still the same 2 cards. Okay. Now, if we sacrifice all 3 of these and get the Satoru, we can probably mill ourselves out this game. I think this is correct. We don't need to give our opponent more turns. Okay. And then we can Cabal Therapy our opponent. Take out the Star Ritual. Dredge's Grave-Troll. Hit a Narcomoeba. Say yes. Then we get another Dredge trigger. Dredge's Grave-Troll. Okay, so we can kill them stone dead, or we can, if we go and get back the Thassa's Oracle here, sacrificing the Poxwalkers. The Poxwalkers comes back, that dredges. So we sacrifice 3 zombies and we get back. Then we mill 6 cards. Yeah, we just kill them however we want to do this, really. So if we go and get back the Thassa's Oracle here, we sack Satoru. No, we don't sack Satoru. We sack 3 zombies. Then the Thassa's Oracle comes back. And a Poxwalkers. This comes back first. This dredges the Grave-Troll. We can take this and just have an empty library, right? So draw the last card. Thassa's Oracle triggers. No cards in the library. We win the game. We also could have just beat them down. The world was very much our oyster there. I believe our opponent's deck is going to be a Leyline deck. So we probably want these. We do need to care about their combo as well. So maybe this is an Unmask game. Can we really bring in 9 cards though? I don't think we can. We can probably trim the worst Dredger in Thug. Maybe get rid of at least 1 breakthrough. Could we do something like this? We can bounce their Leyline. Do we need to respect their combo? I don't think we can. If we board out too many cards from a Dredge deck, we just simply do not operate. We have Faithless Looting to kind of kick things off. We have the bounce for the Leyline. I think we'll keep this. This is pretty low power level. We need to find a Dredger, but we have the ability to see a lot more extra cards with these Faithless Lootings. Okay, didn't have a Leyline. I think mulligan this is also fine. But I figured just making sure we had a Leyline answer was not a bad place to be. A Ponder, sure. So the thing about Dredge is it literally can't win through a Leyline. You need to do something to get out of that. Okay, let's go for a Faithless Looting. Is this enabler worth some counter magic from your opponent? It could be. Little daze. Yeah, little daze action's fine. But we have a second enabler and we have an answer to a permanent like a Grafdigger's Cage our opponent could have. Like Leyline is the most common thing according to MTG Goldfish that they have, but they could have other options as well, like Gnarl Spellbomb, whatever. Okay, I think I'll play out this Underground Sea and I will go for another Faithless Looting with mana to pay around days this time. If this doesn't work, we can start flashing them back. Force of Will. Our opponent is very much on the control roll here. I think they can just play on the aggro combo roll themselves though. So if they turn 1 Doomsday, they can probably beat us. I consider. Not the highest value of cantrips. But next turn we can flash back a Faithless Looting and go from there. A Brainstorm. A Lion's Eye Diamond from our opponent there. 2 cards left in their hand. A Stinkweed Imp. We found a Dredger. Let's flash this back. I think that is better than just playing out a Stinkweed Imp here. Okay, so what am I going to bin off? Stinkweed Imp number 1. Stinkweed Imp number 2. So we might be hard casting a Cabal Therapy. It's pretty funny that 1 mana is a hard cast, but there we are. Which is just send Doomsday. Thoughtseize. Okay. They probably take the Cabal Therapy here. Or the Echoing Truth if they've got some sort of other plan in the works. But they can't Doomsday and kill us this turn with only 1 card left in hand. They can't even put Doomsday on the stack this turn. It should nail the Cabal Therapy here, for sure. Unless they've got something that's going to interact with our graveyard that they're going to use this turn. And try and clip lots of things. Okay, so the Echoing Truth. Interesting. Cycling a Street Wraith. You find anything good there, opponent? I'm going to get back our Stinkweed Imp. Flash back our Faithless Looting. Back our Poxwalkers. They didn't draw a daze. Discard 2 cards. I'll get rid of a Poxwalkers. And how many dredges have we got in there? We do have a Stinkweed Imp. I think I want to put this Bridge from Below in. We've got a Cabal Therapy in there already. We don't have a Cabal Therapy. Interesting. What are we going to dread return here? Maybe we just have to put in the Cabal Therapy there. Alright, let's Cabal Therapy our opponents, sacrificing our Poxwalkers. We get a lot of power off of this. I guess we name Doomsday. It was a Dark Ritual. Okay. I guess we don't really get to do anything else here. We could Dread Return something, but it doesn't look very impressive. I think we just pass. We've got a Faithless Looting for next turn if we want it. I believe our opponent is completely done here. If they cast a Doomsday, they can't win because the card in their hand isn't a cantrip. And then they go down to quite a low life total. And then we will just beat them down. So they would need something like a Shouldered. I don't even think that's good enough here. That's the pivot plan they sometimes have, or like a... sure, they take the Narcomoeba here. It's the only card that doesn't get better when it's in our graveyard. Yeah, we're not really the deck to be Thought Seizing against. I'm not sure I like the Thought Seizers they brought in. Maybe they thought we were going to be like a little bit more controlly and brought in like Unmasks and stuff, and they wanted to kind of disrupt our disruption. But I think they should not be running the Thought Seizers here. They might have also thought that we were a Force of Will Daze build. That is possible. Those builds do exist. I don't like them that much, but here we are. This is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're 1 damage away from killing our opponent. I'm sure we can rustle up 1 damage from somewhere. Ah, Satoru. Do I just get my damage in now, or do I enjoy the Dread Return on our little Satoru? I think we just get the Dread Return on the Satoru in. Like, we're probably going to dredge our whole library this turn. And we're going to make enough zombies in the process that we should be able to kill our opponent from here. Alright, let's get this Stinkweed Imp dredged. An Otherworldly Gaze. This is a spell we can cast from our graveyard. We can also just cast this Faithless Looting as well. Thug. And Troll. There is an anger now. Okay, good. So we'll get rid of this bridge and this Troll. Is there another... Dread Return? There is. How much damage you got? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We have exactly 11 here. I guess we just kill our opponent. Alright. Yeah, I'm not sure about what our opponent kept their hand for. Like, it had cantrips and stuff, I guess. But I'm not really sure why you're running the Thought Seizers. Maybe they didn't have that much stuff going on. And there couldn't have been a Leyline list. Because I feel you are more inclined to mulligan 2 Leyline against Dredge. Because Dredge is just really cold against it. So like Leyline plus Thoughtseize is probably going to be a lock on us most of the time. Alright, we're 4 rounds in though. We are currently 3-1, so not bad. Let's see if we can put a 4-1 on the board. I think we mulligan this one. Ugh, this is an ugly hand. This can go in the bin as well. Give me something a bit better. Our opponent is known for playing Cephalid Breakfast. They're a very good Cephalid Breakfast player, one of the best in fact. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't really think it impacts our game plan too much. But if we have to choose what to play around, we'll play around cards that are in breakfast, you know, like Plough or whatever. Huh. I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm going to keep it though. So I think we get rid of these 2. And our plan is Lion's Eye Diamond into Lion's Eye Diamond. The first one will enable us and put the Stinkweed Imp in the graveyard. The second one will hopefully flash back something at some point. If they counterspell this, then that's a counterspell they don't have. We play our second Lion's Eye Diamond and we can bin off our Stinkweed Imp. Play a second Lion's Eye Diamond. What about second Lion's Eye Diamond? So we're going to crack the one in our upkeep, so our opponent's got less idea what we're doing. They might think we're just doing storm things or whatever. Once upon a time, so our opponent's probably not on breakfast unless this is like a Nadu build that's more heavily into green. So we've got a Windswept Teeth being cracked. A Birds of Paradise. Okay, so they might be able to tutor for some graveyard hate soon. So in our upkeep, we're going to crack this for white mana and then pass. And we're going to dredge this Stinkweed Imp. We found an Narcomoeba, that's something. Are you going to endurance me right now? They are. Yeah, that sucks. It did cost them 2 cards. Chord of Calling. So this is probably Nadu, mid-range Nadu. I would like this Narcomoeba, but if we click yes, it doesn't come into play because it's not in the graveyard to enter from. And now we're doing Stinkweed Imp in our upkeep, probably. Although, no, I don't think there's any reason not to just get the dredging going. A Nomads and Core and a Cradle. We could be dead next turn. I guess we're just going to do upkeep, crack the diamond again, and just hope that dredging gets us there. But yeah, I suspect our opponent's deck probably has 4 endurance in the main deck. You got another endurance? They can hardcast this one if they have it. This Narcomoeba is not going to do the most though. It's just a little guy. We did hit another dredger though, so we're not stone cold to that. If we'd have just drawn for turn, we would have hit like a looting, and that wouldn't have done anything. So, actually, is that true? No, that would have been the one we wanted, right? If we'd have drawn the looting, we crack that, and then we actually get to use our mana and dredge twice. So we've dredged one more time. So we're potentially one step below. That's like the only card really that rewards us for it. Chord of Calling. This is for Nadu, and then we just probably scoop it up at that point. They're going to draw their whole deck. Okay, what are Nadu mid-range decks? It's probably just the endurances, I think. So what is our solution to beating endurances? We could have some hand disruption, or we could just keep our deck running at maximum efficiency, which is probably the better play. I think we're just going in with the same 60 cards here. I think we just want to be more efficient. Like if we water down our plan to, like, let's say we try and board an Unmask to hit an endurance, I'd rather just have more ways of being able to pop off, and we still have the Cabal Therapies we can use. Because if we like Unmask them, they can probably endurance us in response and do some various bits and pieces. Yeah, this hand looks pretty good. A little bit cold to endurance, but you know. Well, actually, we don't have a dredger. What am I doing? I think this is fine though. We have the looting. I believe we'll find the things we want. I'd like to find a fetch land so we can get this going. Okay, this seems pretty good to me. I guess we get rid of Stinkweed Imp and... Is it Anger or Poxwalkers? It's probably Poxwalkers. I just don't know how much of our graveyard is going to be intact for next turn. This is a very juicy pile to endurance. They're obviously going to take their turn first, have maximum information before they fire off an endurance. We can dredge super duper hard next turn though, as long as they don't just bop us and kill us. Alright, so we've got a Once Upon a Time, a Cradle, a Birds of Paradise. Let's dredge this Stinkweed Imp and see what happens. A Thug. Thug's not a big deal. Okay, so let's play this out. Play this out. I think we just send it here. We don't want our opponent shooting for stuff. So we could break through X's 1. That gives us defense against our graveyard getting wiped, because that gives us one more card in our hand if they wipe this graveyard in response. So I think I'm going to do that. So there we go, X is 1, and then whilst this is on the stack, I'm then going to crack this for red and put a dredger in. And then we're going to see if we can break through. Looks like we do get to break through here. This is going to be a pretty disgusting turn. Alright, so I need to discard 3 cards. I'll keep the Thug in hand. Narcomoebas, would you like to come out? This is a good time to endurance if they have it. They do not have an endurance. Cool. Let's flash back this Faithless Looting. Get back some Poxwalkers. We pop enough now. This is our entire library pretty much. Discard these 2. Narcomoeba, you can pop in, say hello. Let's Cabal Therapy our opponent. I don't think they have any graveyard here. I'm going to name Green Sun Zenith. Chord of Calling, Cratehoof Behemoth. We did hit one of the Green Suns as well. We got another one in there. I think we have another one in there. Should do, yeah. Let's take out the chords. And what are we doing now? 14 cards. How big is our guy going to be? 11. So that's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, but they can block this. Okay, let's Cabal Therapy them again and make more zombies. Our opponents asked us if they mind if they concede or not, because they obviously know I make content, so they want to know if I want to play out, but I think we can quite easily work out multiple ways that win the game here. We could reanimate Satoru, finish off our library, reanimate the Oracle, or we could just get like lethal power and just attack our opponent, because we get to Dread Return to put 2 more zombies into play, and then we get to attack with this, which then can crunch through for a decent amount of damage. But yeah, the world is our oyster there. I think we're correct with the way we've sideboarded, as in not doing any at all. Let's go in. I like having the Cabal Therapy. This is a bit slow though, right? Because we got to go through the motions with an Otherworldly Gaze. So if our opponent is on like an endurance type plan where they're going and just trying to disrupt us, this hand is okay. But if our opponent's just doing a combo hand, then we can be dead pretty quickly. I think we're going to go in for something a little bit more powerful. This is very cold to an endurance. We have a lot of draws that make this hand really pop. I'm going to keep this and bin off one of the Stinkweed Imps. We're on the draw, so we get one draw step to try and find like a Faithless Looting, Careful Study, Breakthrough. Alright, we found a Breakthrough. Now, one of the problems we have here is our opponent clearly has an endurance. Alright, let's play some Lion's Eye Diamonds out. If I break through and crack this, we dredge a bunch, then our opponent just kind of gets to have their way with us. Is this worth doing, or do we want to wait so we can break through for one afterwards? Or do we just say, let's just put them to the test? I'm pretty sure they have it here. Put this on the stack, crack this for red. We still have a Lion's Eye Diamond, so we got a neighbour for any dredges we draw. They can endurance right now, so we just mill 4. Fairy Macabre. Very tasty. Okay. I should get rid of this. Oh, we have to discard 4 cards, don't we? That's our entire hand, isn't it? Alright, then we get to at least get this Faithless Looting going. Do I want to Otherworldly Gaze as well? We don't have to do that right now. We can do that in the upkeep. I guess the one reason for doing it now would be we get the ability to like maybe Cabal Therapy them. Alright, let's Otherworldly Gaze. This can go into the graveyard. This can go into the graveyard. This can stay on top of my library. I'm not going to dredge. Go for a Faithless Looting. So this is what I mean about we can afford to get our graveyard wiped or whatever and then just kind of carry on. Alright, our opponent kept a pretty interesting looking hand. Alright, so now they get to pie out a bunch of mana and I think their hand is just unlocked. So we need some good dredges, please. Oh, I don't like this upkeep pause. If they've got the endurance here, that explains why they kept their hand. Because it looked like it was just Gaia's Cradle, Fairy Macabre and bits. But if it was an endurance as well, then that's absolute toast town for us. If they have an endurance, I'll use it now. Okay, they don't have the endurance. How many Bridge from Belows do we have? No Bridge from Belows. Okay, I think we need to Cabal Therapy our opponent still, though. Cabal Therapy, we're going to name Green Sun Zenith. It's the most efficient way they can get something going here. Natural Order. They have the Nadu combo sewn up for next turn. We don't have any way of doing anything here, do we? Okay. We're just going to have to let them do the Nadu thing. Yep, so they just go Nomads and Core. Then they play out the Nadu. And then we F6 this turn and see how this game ends up. We'll leave the revealed cards because obviously they're going to reveal a lot of them. Ah, another Cradle. Very nice. So they can Natural Order for Crater Hoof now. Crater Hoof is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20. So they already have lethal. That is the game. All right. We finished with a 3-2 record. That was okay. Let's talk about the deck and how it went. So I think there was the first round we played where we just had the classic dredge experience where your opponent has the right graveyard hate, you never really get to play the game, and we died. That's what happened in game 3 of that one. I'm surprised it only happened in one game. I normally find out myself getting screwed a little bit more often when I play dredge, so not so bad. Obviously our engine and stuff is quite powerful and it's quite difficult to interact with if you don't have graveyard hate, but the issue is so many people have graveyard hate. And if you look at that last game, we dredged quite a lot, right? We dredged a decent chunk of our library and we couldn't stop what our opponent was doing and we couldn't kill our opponent. Our graveyard combo is definitely slower than something like Oops All Spells. And I also think Oops All Spells is more resilient because it has non-graveyard plans that it can play, whereas we have to play like Into the Flood Maw and stuff to get through Leylines and all that sort of jazz. But where this deck shines is against the sort of slightly slower, more control-y decks, where a lot of the stuff we're doing isn't really putting spells on the stack to be countered in the same way. We're just dredging every turn, and then the stuff pops out and just does its own thing, and then eventually we just shred them with Cabal Therapies and win the game. The deck obviously has the Satoru lever, where we can just go, okay, we're just going to dredge our whole deck this turn and win the game. And that is a nice angle to have. It allows you to then suddenly win the game out of nowhere, and their opponent maybe thinks they've got another turn or whatever. If they think, they're just going to make some zombies, then you get them. But once they've seen the Satoru line once, then they're not going to fall for it again, but that can still steal some games from people who are less familiar with the particular builds of Dredge that are running around at the moment. Would I personally take this deck to a big tournament? I do not think I would. However, if you are MahfuzVanGogh, who is the person who piloted this to win the challenge, then yes, you should be playing it, because they play almost exclusively Dredge. They are kind of like the Dredge expert at the moment in Legacy that people go to for decks, and they are basically the only person who has been top 8 in with Dredge for I don't know how long. It's been quite some time. So congrats again to them. But I think this is just a case of a deck specialist getting every last drop of juice out of the deck, and then maybe getting somewhat fortunate in, pairings, matchups, and the hands their opponents have in terms of their graveyard hate. Because if your opponent has a hand like that Painter opponent had, you can't beat that. That's just lights out. That's just game over right there. And that sort of agency where your opponent can just strip you of it is a problem. Nevertheless, the deck is obviously powerful and fun, and hopefully this deck is going to become a lot better at some point when Wizards of the Coast finally gets around to dealing with some of the graveyard combo that is overrunning the format at large. Just a little chat about where the format is at right now, since this is our midweek meta deck slot. I will pull up an interesting chart that I've made. So, this chart in front of you right here is the cumulative total of top 8 placings of different decks in the format since the BNR. So we've had 4 weeks since the BNR. This top blue line here, as you can see, is very, very large. This is Blue-Black Reanimator. This is the cumulative amount of top 8s that it's had. Like, it's been pretty stable for the first 3 weeks. It's dropped off a tiny bit here, but it's still doing pretty darn well. If we look at the other decks in the format, these are the other 9 decks from the top 10 decks. Even if you combine them all together, they're not that much higher than the Blue-Black Reanimator deck. So you can certainly see that there is a big elephant in the room. I think this chart shows it quite nicely. In terms of just general stats of this last week, Blue-Black Reanimator has dropped by maybe 1% in the meta, and this is the first week where it's been less than 30% of the top 8 share since the BNR. But it's still putting up 11 top 8s, and it still has an over-rep rate of 1.45, so it's doing perfectly well, and it has won an event. And this is the whole rolling data for the entire time since the BNR. As you can see, Blue-Black Reanimator has won 6 events, which is twice as many as the second best deck in terms of event wins, which is Eldrazi. Its over-rep rate is still pretty close to 2, so this is quite large, and it has 56 top 8s with a 35% top 8 share. So even though it dropped off a little bit this week, it's still putting in a lot more top 8s than its overall meta presence would suggest. So I hope that information is useful for you, and I hope you enjoyed our little foray into playing a bit of Dredge today. This is a really sweet deck. I like how this deck operates. It kind of reminds me, in a weird way, of Oops All Spells, where the actual deck construction of this particular deck is really interesting. It's using some unusual stuff in Magic to make it work. However, the way it plays out is a lot more interesting and fair than Oops All Spells. And I hope you enjoyed watching me dredge some people good. It's just like the good old days. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you need to pick up any cards to play a deck like this, please check out 3for1 Trading. They're my sponsor. They're supporting the Legacy community really well. And they have a really deep inventory, so they can find you whatever you need. Alright, goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.